When we will have a break? Because usually we have from 11:30 till 12. And also another question, and till which time we will have lessons?
So what we would do is we would have a break. We would have one break at about, let's say 10:30, right, for 10-15 minutes. And then we would have our lunch from 12 to 12:30, right? So that gives us hour and a half in the beginning, then 10-15 minutes of a break, and then it gives us another hour and 15 minutes to work, and then it gives us 30 minutes of break for lunch, and then it gives us 2 hours for practice and all of that stuff, right? So this way our class would be divided in smaller chunks.
And till which time we will work? We will study?
So we would stick to whatever the class timings are. We would start at 9, we would finish at 2:30. Now I would like to move a few practice questions at the end of the class, all right? And if someone is done with all of those questions, I'd be okay if you want to leave. Now I know in some of the classes, you guys finish everything by 12, and then half of the classes.
1:30 usually.
1:30, yeah. Okay, yeah, I would finish all the content before, and then I would give practice questions. And if you understand everything, you're done with practice questions, you know, there's no reason for me to waste your time, right? But if you're someone who is, you know, trying to learn that concept, who's struggling with it, I would stay in the class until 2:30, and I would take the time to answer all the questions you guys have.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay. Now, first we need to check if you already have Node.js installed on your system, right? And now to check that, first of all, you need to open up Terminal, all right? So if you are on Mac operating system, right, you can search for Program Terminal, right? And if you are on Windows, correct me if I'm wrong, but Windows does have a terminal now, right? It's called something, I don't know.
CMD.
CMD?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, if you're on Windows, open up CMD.
I'll just do a search for CMD, but it's actually called command prompt.
Command prompt. Right. Thanks. I'm not a Windows guys. All right. So you guys would have to help me out here a little bit.
Just do a search for CMD and you found it.
Right. Awesome. And once you have that, you need to do a NODE node space -v. Right. And it should give you the version of Node.js if Node.js is already installed on your system. All right. Many of you would not have it installed already, and which is perfectly fine. We are going to go over the installation process too. Right. But first, you need to know if you already have it installed or not.
In Windows, Node, it's not recognized as external command.
Right. So it's not only on Windows, even if you are on Mac, and if you do not have Node.js installed, you're going to get an error, right? You're going to get.
Did you put a space?
Yes, it's node space -v. And yes, if you do not have Node installed, it's going to give you some kind of error where it's going to say, hey, command not known, not an internal or external command, which is perfectly fine. This simply just means you do not have Node.js installed. Right? And if you do not, if you are seeing an error, you can actually Google right now, maybe, you know, install Node.js. Don't run any command for now, I would say. Right? But yeah, I'm going to wait for a few more seconds for other people to catch up to make sure they have command line CMD on Windows opened up, or terminal on Mac OS, or, you know, terminal on Ubuntu. So someone said, I have version 10. Do I need to update? You don't really need to update. You would be fine. Right? If you have a version 10, it's all right. It's not a problem. Now, if you already have Node.js installed, give me a yes. in the participants box. In reactions, give me a yes if you already have Node.js installed on your system. Someone said, I have 15.8. Is that okay? Yes. Any version of Node.js is fine.
So I have a question. I have Linux. Now I'm using Windows because last few courses it was like .NET things. So I have Linux and I like to use it. So I can use it now, I think.
There cannot be a better operating system than Linux if you want to use Node.js.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
Thank you.
with .NET and everything, I do realize that Windows would be a better operating system to use. But with Node.js, Linux would work perfectly without a problem.
Thank you.
All right. Now, is there anyone who is not able to check the version of Node so far? Is there anyone who is facing issues with knowing if they already have Node.js installed or not? Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to search for Node.js, right? Just Google Node.js, all right? And we are going to go to this website which says nodejs.org. Right? And you're going to see this. This is basically the homepage for Node.js, right? And we are going to install the LTS version, right? LTS is long-term support, right? This is what we would install. Again, if you have any other version, it's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. But if you're just installing it, install the LTS version, which should be 14 point something. Right? Now you're going to see when I click on this, it's going to download a package on my system. And I can just simply install Node.js from there. Right? It should work similarly for Windows too. Once you are done with the installation, you need to restart your terminal and check again by doing a node-v. Right?
Excuse me.
Yep.
My Windows is Windows 7. It doesn't support Node.js?
That shouldn't be a problem. But the command line on Windows has recently updated, I guess. That's what one of my students told me in the last class. So
Yeah.
the problem might be with the command line, actually. I don't know, any Windows enthusiast here? Can you guys help me here? Is that the case? Has Windows updated their command line?
No, when I downloaded the Node.js and run it,
Yeah.
I got an error. It says Windows 7 doesn't support Node.js.
All right, that's something we would have to check. Windows 7 Node.js.
I think only 12 or 13 works on 7.
12 or 13.
Yeah.
All right, if that's the case, what you can actually do is you can go to downloads.
Downloads, yes.
Current latest feature, LTS, not here. We're looking for other versions, other downloads, changelog API, LTS, nope. All right, let me check. There should be previous releases, right? Sorry, did you say 12 point something? That should work.
Yeah, 12 or 13. I think we had it 12, right?
Right.
Zara?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm sending this link, right, in everyone. This is the link to version 12 point something. And here you're gonna find Node.js v12.21, and then you can download it for your Windows version. Do you know if your window is 32 bits or 64 bits?
Yeah, yes, 64. For me, 64.
Okay, so you're gonna download this version which says Window-x64, right? It could be a zip or it could be 7z. This is just compression.
7, yeah, got it. Thank you.
No problem. Try to download it and let's see if it works.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
So I have a question for installation. Everything next, next, next. Don't touch anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is installation for tools, install Chocolatey or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't touch anything. Just next, next, and that's it. Yeah.
Right. You don't need Chocolatey, but if you do install it, it's not gonna cause any problem.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. By the way, programmers love food. You would see a lot of tools and libraries on the name of food. Chocolatey, you have Chai. That's a JavaScript library. I guess name it, and there would be a library for that, or there would be a tool for that. There's
Even Java, it's somehow related to coffee at the end. It's kind of a drink.
right,
It's because
exactly. It is. We have Chai.js, and then yeah, I don't know. I think just name a food and put JS in front of it, you would find a library for it. Right. So that's yeah, if you're gonna be a programmer, you're gonna sit on a chair for 8 hours a day and you're gonna see all these food names. Good luck with your obesity. Good luck with your weight. And if you have installed it, if you're able to see the Node version now, please don't forget to update your reaction. All right. Please don't forget to give me a yes in the participants box if you have it installed now. Right. Now, when you install Node.js, you would have to restart your terminal. You would have to close your terminal and open it up again for it to load.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
After downloading it, I should click on Install Tools Batch.
Install tools.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have Install Tools Batch, yeah? That's
Yeah,
fine.
you can install it. If you're facing any issues, please let me know. If you are done with the installation, please don't forget to change your reaction. All right, you simply need to go to Node.js, download the LTS version, install it. And once you are done with the installation, please do not forget to restart your terminal or your command line.
I got another issue.
Mm-hmm.
Says Windows PowerShell has stopped working.
Oh, in that, I think you would have to just restart it. Can you try that? Yeah, PowerShell is actually what I was looking for. PowerShell Windows. Yeah, maybe just try restarting your command line.
I have two choices here: debug or close the program.
Close the program and try opening it up again.
Open the CMD.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Try the version of Node again. Node space -v.
actually, no, Node is not recognized as an internal.
All right. Do you mind sharing your screen? Let's see what
Yeah,
exactly
sure.
the problem is. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Here.
All right. All right, let's try to install it. Let's try, let's install Node.js.
Node.js. Here, I click here.
You would have to share your entire screen. I only see your CMD. I don't see your entire computer screen.
How about now?
No, you would have to share again, I guess.
It's screen, it's screen.
Yeah.
Now do you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gonna start recording here. All right. So first of all, let's see, draw. All right. Let's create my favorite diagram. We have front end, right? And let's say this is on a browser. And then, you know, we have internet somewhere here in between. And we have backend, right? Somewhere on AWS, on Google Cloud, right? On some platform, somewhere in the world, you know, we have some virtual servers, you know, these companies are providing us. That's where we host our backend, right? Now on the front end, what kind of things our browser understand? Can anyone help me with that? What are the technologies or what are the things that a browser understands?
HTML, CSS, JavaScript.
HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Is there anything else?
No.
JSP.
Sorry, say that again.
JSP. No.
So JSP, AngularJS, React.js, and all of that stuff. You write JSP, but you don't send JSP to the browsers. All right, browsers simply understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right. So at the end of the day, it's still JavaScript that is being sent to the browser. Right. So you can write code in other things, but at the end of the day, browser you know, only understands HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Now, when I say only, I'm oversimplifying it. There's WebAssembly too that's coming up and all of that stuff. But, you know, to simplify everything, we can say HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are three things that your browser understands, all right? So if you are creating the front end of a website, these three technologies are pretty much the core of your website, right? It's going to be the core of the platform from front end perspective. All right. So if you want to be a front end developer, HTML, CSS, and JS, these are the three technologies that you really have to be comfortable with. Right. And obviously, you know, you can complicate all of this more after Sass. After CSS, you can learn Sass if you want. Right, with JS, you can move ahead with React, Angular, or Vue, right? Someone's working on Vue already, Vue.js, and all of that stuff, right? Now, all of this is on the front end, all right? All of this is front end. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this here a bit. Right, move it on the side. Oh. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about backend. All right. Now what happens on front end is front end makes a request, right, to the backend, right, and it could say, hey, can you give me all the information of user John, right? Now it could be Facebook, right? Facebook could be asking, hey, you know, I'm on the browser and there's this person who logged in and I need to get information related to the user John, right? Once that happens, that API responds back, right, and gives all the possible data, right? And it says, all right, the name of this person is John, all right, and he has, let's say, 600 friends. Let's continue with the example of Facebook, and it could also have feed where it could say, all right, this person is supposed to see information from, you know, these 3 or 5 or whatever Facebook pages, right, depending upon whatever pages you have liked and all of that stuff, or whatever your friends have posted, right? And you do all of this, right? Everything that I have presented here, you do all of this using what? Any guesses here?
Sorry, what's the question?
The question is, what exactly do you use to get information from backend?
Ajax.
Ajax, thank you. Yes, right. You make an Ajax call and you say to the backend, hey, I need some information for a specific person, and the backend, you know, could have access to a database, right, where all the information of users and everything is. Sorry, where all the information of the users and everything is stored. The backend is going to talk to the database. It's going to fetch all the information, and it's going to return that information to the front end for the information to be shown. Right? Any questions, any doubt until this point? Do you understand what front end is, what back end is, and how they communicate with each other? Again, guys, don't be shy if you have any question, all right? You can always type in your question if you're shy or if you hesitate asking. But yeah, the only difference between a YouTube video and me talking here right now is that you can talk back here, right? Otherwise on YouTube, at least you get to pick, you know, which video you wanna watch, right? Here you don't get control over that. So let me be better than a YouTube video here. Any questions or any doubts? Okay. Now this entire communication, you know, we are saying, hey, front end ask user John, right? This door by which you can get information from the backend, right? This thing is API, right? Application programming interface, right? This is a backend API where front end is saying, hey, I need some information, and backend has already defined, if you want a user, ask me of the user by saying user / name of the user. So if you send user / John, I'm going to give you information of the user John. If you say user / Akash, I'm going to give you the information of user Akash. All right. This is API. All right. Now you have consumed these API not at a very extensive level, but you still have consumed these APIs in your JavaScript class using Ajax. All right. Now, how many people even remember what Ajax is or how it works? Forget about how it works. How many people remember about Ajax? Give me a yes if you do remember about Ajax. If you remember doing Ajax in JavaScript, give me a yes. Oh, only 3 people? That's it? Do you guys remember calling making an AJAX call, XHR, HTTP request, or maybe jQuery.ajax, and then fetching data from some server and then showing it on the front end?
Not in JavaScript. We just did that in ASP.NET.
You did it in ASP. Oh, okay. That's a, I mean, it's okay. It might be ASP as long as you have done AJAX. All good. It could be in JS or it could be in ASP. It's the same. There isn't really much of a difference. Okay, 8-ish people. All right.
We actually did in the PHP class and the JavaScript class. JavaScript is really, it's been a while, but in the PHP class we did a lot of Ajax too.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it could be in ASP, PHP, whatever, but as long as you remember what Ajax is, you understand what Ajax is, you're good, right? It could be in any language. The concept doesn't change, all right? The concept is simple. That front end asks for some data using Ajax by calling an API, right? Okay, 8 people, so kind of half of the class. All right, I'm gonna clear this feedback here. All right. I'm gonna get back to this screen. So our focus in this course is going to be on the backend side of things. This area here that I'm highlighting in blue, right? This is what we would be focusing on in this course, creating APIs, right? Now in PHP or in .NET, when you guys were making Ajax calls, were you writing the APIs too? Or were you consuming APIs that were public or externally available?
Only in PHP.
We were constructing the APIs.
You were constructing the API. All right. So we would be doing something similar here. Are you guys familiar with the concept of routing by any chance?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? I just want to make sure that everyone is familiar with that. Give me a yes in reactions if you are familiar with the concept of routing. All right, I have 4, 5, 6. Okay, 4, 4. All righty. Yeah, 5, 4. 5 no's and 4 yes. Okay, I need to understand. You guys didn't do routing, or is
We
that
did,
people who are
in PHP, if anybody else doesn't remember, it's when we did, let's say, $app get, and then the route like /users, and then you write your code you wanted in it. That's the routing. If people are confused.
Yeah, that's right. If that rings any bell, that's exactly right. Doing app.get and then saying, okay, get users or products or whatever. That's routing. If you understand that concept from PHP, then give me a yes. Right. That's still 4 no, 6 yes, 7 yes. Oh, okay, that did 9 yes. All right, that did change numbers. No, yes. All right. Okay, so you have done it, and maybe it's just that you don't remember that it's known as routing. Okay, I'm gonna clear the feedback. That's good enough for me to know where we are at. Okay, so we would be focusing mostly on that part. All right, we would be creating APIs, right? And if time permits, if everything goes well, if we have enough time, maybe we can even host the entire backend on, I don't know, Heroku or AWS or somewhere, right? Okay, have you guys done a complete application, both front end and back end so far?
Yes.
Was that in PHP?
Yes. And in
Right,
.NET
awesome.
also.
.NET too, right? So we would be achieving the same goal here. But in this case, the thing's going to be that your front end is going to be entirely separated from your backend, right? Again, I'm not sure. That might have been the case with PHP and .NET too, right? But I doubt that. So we are going to have our front end entirely separated from our backend services, right? And our backend services this time are going to be in Node.js, right? Okay, any questions or any doubts so far related to Ajax, front end, what's backend, what's an API? Any doubt or any question? All right, so in that case, let's jump on Node.js, right? What is Node.js, right? So Node.js is a runtime environment, right? It's a runtime environment for JavaScript, right? Now let's see what that means. So let's talk about human beings, right? So initially we had very simple HTML pages, right? Nothing crazy. You can put some content on there, some text. And when that initially came up in military and all of that stuff, people were really happy, They were like, oh, now we can maintain digital versions of our records and we can also connect them, right? Using anchor links. We can click on a link and we can go to another page. And it was a huge progress, right? Just think of those days when everything was maintained, in files and papers, and we are talking about military here. So we're talking about a lot of papers, everything was documented. And in regular paper-based files and paper-based documentation, think of connecting things, right? Just think of connecting one document to another, right? You would literally have to write, hey, go look into that booklet, page number, blah, 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 right? And when people were able to link different kind of HTML pages, they were really happy, but then, we are human beings. We wanted more. We were like, you know what? This is good, but I mean, doesn't look good, Let's make it look nicer. So we came up with CSS, right? We were like, all right, now we are gonna have documents, but now we can make those documents look really pretty, right? So now it's not gonna only be text, it's gonna be text, but we are gonna make it look really nice, right? So people started designing, their web pages, and for sometimes human beings were happy again, but then yeah, we are human beings. We wanted more. We're like, it's okay. We have text. It looks beautiful, but I can't really do much, right? I should be able to do more. So a programmer came up and he was like, why? Yeah, why not? Here's JavaScript, right? Now you can add interaction to your website. Now you can, click on a button and do something on your website. Now you can have a flying unicorn on your website. You can change the text. You can have animations, right? You can hide or show things depending upon what the content is. And you can have customized web pages. So if Akash logs in, the web page is going to look different. If Tom logs in, he's going to see a different page than Akash, right? And here you guys go, JavaScript, right? And again, human beings were happy for a few years, right? And then they came up with more stuff. They came up with Angular, React, and all of that. Everything grew bigger. We became more ambitious. But things didn't stop there. There were a lot of front-end developers. And then those front-end developers met one day, and then they were like, you know what? We can do everything on front-end, but we still have to rely on back-end people, right, to write APIs and all of that stuff. We know JavaScript. Why don't we use JavaScript to write backend code, right? So in those days, you could only and only execute JavaScript in a browser, and that's it, right? Your browser would only run your JavaScript would only run in a browser those days, right? And then about 10 to 12 years back, this guy came up and he was like, now we would be able to run JavaScript on the backend, right? We would be able to use the same programming language, all right? Not a new language, exactly what we have been using for so many years, but now we would be able to write backend code with it, right? And that's how Node.js was born, right? So it's not a programming language. It's very important to understand. When we are writing Node.js, the programming language we are using is JavaScript, right? Programming language that we use would be JavaScript, right? That's the reason we call Node.js a runtime environment, which means it would let me run JavaScript, right? Runtime, right? For JS. Now, runtime environment, because it gives me an environment on a computer to run JS without a browser. All right. Now, to show you guys an example, I'm going to open up. Oh, you guys can't see my screen here. Anyway, I'll show an example on how we can run the same thing now on the browser and on our terminal too, right? Before, it wasn't possible to run any JavaScript code on terminal, right? So important part, Node.js is a runtime environment for JS. The programming language used is JS, right? Second thing, it's not a framework, all right? Node.js is not a framework of JavaScript, right? Many people confuse that. It's to write backend code, right? It's to create backend code and backend servers, right? Okay, any doubts or any questions here about Node.js, what it is, what it is not? Any doubts or any questions here? All good? That usually means two things. We understood everything or we understood nothing. Which one is it?
There so far.
Yeah, good so far. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is, it's a little annoying because I would have to keep sharing my screen from here to there and all of that. But once I get back my laptop, this shouldn't be a problem. Oh, I think I shared my wrong screen. Share screen. Desktop too. All right. I'm gonna close this. So I've just opened up Visual Studio Code. All right. I have opened up an empty folder. It has nothing right now in it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open terminal from here. Terminal, new terminal, and it's gonna open up terminal for me inside Visual Studio Code, right? But you can keep using the terminal, you know, the regular one that we were using before, right? That's going to work perfectly fine as well. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I am going to simply check the version of my node by doing a node space -v just to make sure I have access to node version here. Okay, that was a lot of disturbance from someone's mic. Anyway, can you guys hear me now? Yep, okay.
Yes.
All right, so first I'm gonna check the version of the node. All right, it's working fine. I'm gonna create a new file, all right? And let's say I'm gonna call it refresher.js, right? the extension for JavaScript files is .js, right? And I'm going to call this file refresher because we would be, putting in some refresher stuff here, right? Okay, now we have a JavaScript file. So we're going to do a very basic thing. We are going to do a console.log, right? And then we are going to say, hey, writing Node.js, right? I'm going to save this. And then to simply execute this, what I need to do is I need to do node, all right? And then I need to give the path of this file. Now, if you see, my current working directory is the same as this, right? So if I do a pwd, which is present working directory, I'm already inside the folder web services, all right? So I simply need to do node and then the name of the file, refresher.js. And when I run this, it should display whatever I had in here, console.log, right? It should display that exact same thing, writing Node.js. Right? What I want you guys to do is I want you to try the same thing just to make sure you are able to run a JavaScript file now on your system. Right? Once done, give me a yes. That's weird. All right, we already have 5 years. Nice. To make sure you do not face any problem with the path, I would suggest you to open up the folder in which you have your file, refresher.js.
Excuse me.
Yep.
I have an issue. Can I share my screen?
Sure, go ahead.
Here. I can bring my terminal.
PowerShell failed to launch. Okay, this might be a problem with your setup, but it's okay. You can open up your regular terminal and do the exact same thing as that I am doing.
CMD in Windows, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Problem. Start sharing my screen again here. Desktop 2.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
When I try while running the node refresh.js, I got the debugger attached and waiting for the debugger to disconnect. How can I disable the debugger when I run the code?
Did you run the Node.js file exactly the way I ran, or did you press a play button or something from here?
I run the code from the terminal.
And it attached the debugger automatically? That's weird. Do you mind sharing your screen? Let me check.
Okay, wait a second. Can you see?
Yep. Right, let me check. No, refresh on the port and stay waiting for the debugger to disconnect. Yeah, that's weird. Just give me a second.
Thank you.
Click on the files. Click on the top left where you see all the files. Yeah, just give me a second here. Okay, web services. The file is correct.
Click on where you see two JavaScript debug terminal. A little more to the right. Okay, you're in PowerShell now. It should work.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Not a window person. Thanks a lot. Share screen. Go back here. All right. If you are able to run your Node.js file, give me a yes in participants box or give me a yes in chat. All right, so that I know you are done with it and we can move ahead. Okay. So if you pay attention, this is exactly JavaScript code, right? Like I can actually copy this entire thing, go to my browser, go to inspect here, right? And go to console, right? Paste this. Just gonna refresh, zoom in, right? Now, if I do this, it's gonna work fine here too, right? So I can run JavaScript in my browser, all right? And this could be inside my code of HTML and CSS too, right? And now with the help of Node.js, I'm able to write and run the same piece of code, right, in a terminal without a browser, right? So this is what Node.js does for you. It provides you this environment where you are able to run your JS without a browser, right? So whenever you need to print something, it's console.log. All right, now considering this is a refresher, I'm not teaching JavaScript from scratch. I'm gonna go a little faster, all right? And if there's anywhere you guys think you need more time or more explanation, you just need to let me know, all right? Now for conditions, if condition, right, where you provide a condition here. So let's say I define a new variable by saying let age equals 20, and in condition I can say if age is greater than 18, right? I'm just going to print console.log. You can drink, right? Gonna fix the indentation here, right? That's if condition, and if else would work similarly. If age is greater than 18, right? Do something here, and else part, you simply write else, bracket starts, curly braces, and then you simply can write it, do anything in that block of code that you want, right? In this case, we would say you cannot drink, right? And we have if, else, if do, right? So if age is greater than this, do this, else if, you can put another condition here. If age is greater than 12, you can drink. So you can have juice, and then even if not that, console.log you can only have juice, right? So we have three kind of conditionals here, right? This is if condition. This is if else, and this is if else if, right? Three kind of conditions. I'm hoping there are no surprises here. Are there? This is all that you guys have done before. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So these were conditions. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds here. All right. Now you don't necessarily need to type all of this, right? I want you to pay attention on understanding and asking questions. I'm gonna give you guys access to all of this code, right, through GitHub. So don't worry about this code, especially because this is just a refresher, right? All right, let's talk about loops, right? Loops. So we have our favorite for loop, right? We have, what parts does a for loop has? So we have initialization and condition,
Concatenation.
and then increment or decrement. Yeah. I plus plus here, right? So I'm just gonna console.log the value of I, nothing more. Just giving you guys, you know, a refresher of the syntax, right? This is for loop. Then we have while loop. So in this case, we are going to define something here. We're going to say let I equals 0, condition outside, and while I is less than 10, right? I'm going to console print right here, then I plus plus, right? So I have initialization on line number 37. I have condition on line number 38, and I have increment or decrement on line number 40, right? So all these three parts of the loop. And we have do while, right? So do this. So in this case, I'm gonna, because we are writing everything in a global scope, I'm gonna name this J, right? And console.log, call this, just print the value of J, right? Increment it, do this, while, and now comes the condition part, J is less than 10. What's the biggest difference between while and do while loop?
Do while does the operation at least once.
Do while does the operation at least once. That's right. All right. No matter what the condition is, this part would run at least once. So someone said, I forgot the difference between var and let. So the difference between var and let is about scope. All right. Let has a block scope. If I have defined I equals to 0 here, it's only gonna be accessible. This I would only be accessible inside this block of code. All right. Whereas var has a function level scope. All right. So the differences between scope and let has a more strict scope than var, and var has function level scope and let has a block level scope, right? And if you do not plan to change the value, you can even use const. All right, does that answer your question? Is that clear enough? All right. All right, any questions, guys? This is gonna be a little fast in comparison to the rest of the course. Again, this is because it's a refresher, but any question or any doubts? Okay. So what's next? Objects. Have you guys heard about JSON? Have you guys done anything with JSON so far?
We did a little bit.
A little bit, right? So this is gonna look a little familiar to you guys. So I can do a const foo, or you know what, const student, right? So if you know the full form of JSON, it's JavaScript object notation. All right, so JSON uses the exact notation as a JavaScript object. So this is what JavaScript object looks like. Name, right? And name of the student could be Flash. By the way, that's the name of my dog. And name and student ID. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And objects could be nested too. So it could be courses. What kind of courses this person has, right? Let's say JS, Java, PHP, .NET, and so on. And yeah, you can have anything you want in here, an array, another object if you want, and so on. All right, you can have another object here. You can have a program and the name of the program, right? Which could be IPD. Duration, 12 months. Number of courses, 6, or I don't know, 7, 10, and so on, right? These are objects in JavaScript. And it could also have a function, by the way. So a method, to be more precise. So it could be say hi. And you could write a function in here. Got a comma here. Say hi, and you can say console.log. Hey. All right. And if you see to create an object, you don't necessarily need a class in JS. All right. JavaScript could be written as object-oriented programming language, or it could be written as procedural language too, functional language, right? So I created an object directly without having to create a class. And I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but there are no types either, right? JavaScript is loosely typed. So when I provided age to this variable here, I did not specify that this variable is going to be of type number, or this variable is going to be of type string or whatever. You know, you just take a variable and you assign, assign to it whatever you want. Right, any question, any doubt here? Any question? All right, to access property of this object, you could simply do student dot name, right? You could do student dot student ID, right? Or you can access the same thing by student having brackets like an array and then giving the key here, student ID, right? This thing here on the left-hand side is the key, and this thing here on the right-hand side is value, right? So it's key value pairs, right? This is key, this is value, this is key, this is value, this is key, this entire thing is value, right? This is key, program is the key, and this entire thing in the bracket, this object here is the value, and so on. Right? If you need to access the function, you can do student dot say hi and call the function like this, right? Like you would do in Java, you know, object dot method, and just call the method from there. Right?
Sorry, I have a question.
Yep.
For having access to the name of program, do we need to call the student first and dot program and then dot name like this?
So if you, okay, there was some disturbance in the mic. Is the question that if you need to access the name of the program, would you have, is that what you're trying to ask? How to access the name of the program?
Exactly.
Okay, so yes, you are right. You would need to do student, and then from student, you would have to access the program, right? From here, you access this key here first, and now you have access to this entire object. And then you would do a dot name. This would give you the program name.
Thank you.
No problem. This is what we call a nested object, right? Because student is an object, right? Student contains this object, and then inside it, there's this key program, which also contains an object. So there's an object inside another object, right? So it's a nested object.
Hi, one more question. Is it possible to access just the first element in courses there, for example? I don't know what's the first element. I want to access just JavaScript, let's say.
Sorry, say that again.
To access just the first element here in courses, for example. There's
oh, this one. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you need to do that, access first course. Anyone wants to take a guess? Any guesses here? How would we do that? The idea is to access this.
You would do student.courses square brackets 0.
Student.courses bracket 0. Yes, that's right. So the idea here is you want to access this. So the idea is to access this key first. And as soon as you access the key, what happens is then you are dealing with this array. Then you don't even need to think about anything else, right? And I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to go to the browser here, right? Or even better, we can actually open Node here, right? So it's possible to open up interactive version of Node, all right? If you just type in Node and press enter, right, it's going to open up interactive version of it, right? Now I can directly type in code here and it's going to run, right? This is exactly as writing your code in here in the console of the browser, right? But just in Node.js. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a few things here. I'm going to paste this. I'm going to create a student. All right, so if I do student dot courses, it's going to give me this array, right? So in your mind, now you don't need to think of the entire student. You need to think of this array. And now from this array, if you need to fetch this first value, what would you do? You would just access the index 0, right? So you simply access the index 0. All right. Don't think of this as one big problem. All right. Break down your problem. So if you need to access, let's say, the duration of the program, your first goal should be to access program. All right. And when you do that, your scope of problem is not this much now. Your scope of problem becomes this small, right? And now if I want to access duration from this object, I would just do dot duration. Right, so go one by one step at a time. All right, any questions or any doubts here? All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes here to play around with this object, right? So let's take 5-10 minutes, go on your editor, try to access a few keys, try to access, I would say, each key out of this, try to access name, student ID, courses, program, and so on. And to make your life more fun, let me add another object here. What other information? Okay, let's have campus. All right, I've modified the object a bit to make it a little more complex, right? So yeah, give it a try. And in the meanwhile, I'm gonna set up the GitHub repository. Whenever you are done practicing, give me a yes. If you have any question, feel free to ask. I have just sent the link to GitHub repo. Everyday code, I would post everything on there. You know what? Actually, I'm going to move this to a folder, day-1. If you're done practicing this, you can go on a break and you can come back by 12:50. Right? If you're already done with it, if you're done practicing objects, you can come back by 12:50 p.m. Right? If not, keep practicing and please give me a yes whenever you're done.
So back 12:50 or 12:30?
12:30.
Okay.
Did I say 12:15 before?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Back by 12:30, I'm sorry. If you're already done with it, you can go on lunch break and be back by 12:30 p.m. All right, so have you guys done anonymous functions, also known as Lambda functions in some programming languages? Any experience with that? Anonymous functions, Lambda functions.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we need refresh. It's better.
Sure. So first, I'll show you guys an example of regular function here. All right. So you say function and then name of the function. Let's say adder, right? It takes two parameters, X and Y, right? Again, if you guys pay attention, you do not have to specify the type of X and Y, right? And let's take another variable here, which adds these two numbers and then just return this sum, right? This would be a regular function in JavaScript, right? That's one way to do it. Another way to create a function would be const adder 2 equals, and now you can create anonymous function here, right? You can create function. You don't have to give name. Could be X comma Y. Right. Gonna put the same thing here. And exactly this same thing could be written using fat arrow operator, right, like this. So this operator here is known as fat arrow operator. All right, and in this case, in this bracket, in these brackets, we put in the parameters, right? We do not have to use the keyword function, and we can, you know, the way you create function is exactly the same, and even the way you use this function is exactly the same. So you can pass in 5,10, and same thing here. Same thing here. All right, you just give the name of the function and pass the parameters, and all these three functions are going to work exactly the same. Right? Any question or any doubt so far? Right, is it clear what's happening here with this arrow operator, with the fat arrow operator?
Yes. Yep.
Alrighty. So I'll show you guys an example of another anonymous function, somewhat more practical with arrays, right? So let's say const numbers, right? And let's say the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And let's say what I want to do is I want to multiply all these numbers by a specific number, right? So what I can do is I can do numbers dot for each, right? Now, this is obviously, you know, you can obviously iterate over all the numbers using this method, but what it accepts inside is an anonymous function, right? So this can be done in a few ways. I'm going to show you all the ways of doing it. So you're going to create a function inside here, and you're going to get a number, right? And what we want to do inside this function is, let's say we want to multiply each number by 3 in print, right? So we can do a console.log, and we can multiply each number by 3, right? Now, if you pay attention, inside this for each, we are writing this entire function here, the one that I've highlighted, right? And it's anonymous because I'm not giving it any name or anything, right? It's a function created without a name. And I'm creating the entire function inside for each.
And here by default, the number it's passed. So the parameter of the function, it's by default, it's the, let's say, the number of every loop of for each.
That's right. So because you're running this for each on numbers, it's automatically going to take each number from the array. So this function is going to get called 9 times. First time with number 1, second time with this parameter 2 here in number, and so on. Right? And same thing can be written in another way, in another syntax, right? Which would be something like this: number close array. Then you can do using fat arrow operator. And again, the same thing can be written also as this. Right? But if there's only one parameter, you can, you know, you cannot use the parentheses if you want. You can get rid of them. Right? So these are 3 three different ways to write the same thing. The only difference in these three is syntax and nothing else. All right, I'm gonna give you guys here, 5-10 minutes. You guys can try out things here. I don't want you to just copy paste this. I want you to try it out. All right. I want you to understand different parts of this function. I've already shared the link of repository and I'm pushing the code side by side. So you have access to the code. So the goal is not just to take this code and write it down on your own editor. The goal is to try out something new with, I don't know, for each. All right, and so anyone has any question or any doubt? Don't forget to give me a yes if you're done with this. And if you are done with it, I have given you another program in the message. Right? If you are done with this, check out my message. I have given you another program to practice.
And I think also if it's only one line, it's possible without curly brackets, right?
Without curly, oh yes, yeah, it's gonna return everything.
Yeah.
Yep, you could do this.
Yeah, exactly.
in Microsoft Teams, I have posted links to 2 JavaScript courses. If you need a refresher, if you if you're struggling with JS concepts, it might be a good point to start. If you are done practicing for each, give me a yes in participants box. And if you are done, you can look my message in the chat, and you do not have to remove your yes, right? That yes is if you are done with practicing for each or not. Anyone has any question, any doubt, anything you're struggling with, anything you want me to repeat?
What about arrays and list and all this in JavaScript?
So arrays is as simple as what you see here. So
Okay.
you do const numbers, and then you just literally, this is how you give an array. Start bracket, put whatever value you want to put in, and that's it. You can define by using constructor by saying new array, but no one really uses that. It's just extra work for no reason. You can do something like this. And then you new array, and then you can provide whatever value you want to provide, whatever in that index. And I think you should also be able to define values here if you want. But no one really uses this way in JS, in JavaScript. This is just way easier. And there are no lists or anything. You either are mostly using arrays or you are using objects.
And this is like, let's say the length, it's dynamic. Yes. You can all the time add and remove, right?
Arrays?
Yeah.
Yes. There is no length to arrays. You can, so right now you have you have 9 values. You can simply do a dot push, right? And you can add number 10 here in the same array. As simple as that. There's no length, no modifying the length, no nothing. Everything works. And you can also do something like this, numbers, and on index 10, you can directly define a value, let's say 11. So either you can, yeah.
So with index, I can put it even in between, or no? All the time I have to add at the end. I cannot add in the middle or something.
You can't add in the middle, because if you do, let's say index 5 equals, I don't know, 88, you would pretty much be overriding this value here.
Exactly, override, but you cannot like insert in this and push the other like 1.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. No, not by this. If you want to do that, you would have to use a method dot splice. Right?
Okay.
That would let you do what you want to do, where you want to add something in between, but you don't want to override it.
Yeah. Okay. Now I remember it. This is the review. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yep.
I have a stupid question. How to run the code in VS Code?
How to run the code in VS Code. Same thing as we were doing. You are gonna do node. Oh, first of all, let me understand the question properly. When you say how to run the code in VS Code, do you mean the way I have terminal here, or are you just talking about this? Refresher.
Both of them, actually. Yeah. Okay, so if I don't want to do it in terminal, how can I run the code?
Right. So let's say if I don't want to run anything here inside here, right? So
Yeah.
what I need to do is I need to go to my terminal, right? So
Okay.
option 1, I can say node space, and I can give the path of this file, right? This file here.
Okay.
And there's a way you can actually right click and copy the entire path.
All right.
Right? This would make your life a little easier. You go here, you send node, you paste the entire path, enter, and yeah, access, and there you go.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. These must be all of our loops and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's way 1. Another way is you go to the folder first, right? So you go to the folder here, day 1, right? Change directory, go there, and then you run by simply giving the name of the file. Like this.
Okay. I have a directory here, but each time that I type %node, it shows me an undefined file. Would you please just see my code? Yeah.
Sure, but by the way, I'm not typing the %. That's something that my editor is giving automatically. The only thing that I'm typing is node space refresher.js.
Just node
space refresher.js. Yes. You don't need to type the %. This is something that my terminal is giving automatically.
Okay. Okay. Refresher.js. Yes, good. Thank you.
No problem. Gonna go back here. Open up my terminal. Any other questions, guys? All right, if you are done with the question I sent in the chat, please send me the code in a private text, right? If you are done with the program that I sent in the chat, send me the answer, send me the program, send me the code to that problem in a private text. Already received one. All right, someone did it with find, someone did it with for each. Perfectly fine.
Akash?
Yeah.
I'm not able to do it because I've lost my internet. I'm actually on my phone right now.
All right. Anyway, I would suggest you keep the copy of the question so that
Well,
whenever
it's going to be in Teams. I just can't get to it right now because I don't have any internet at the house.
Sure. All right. Not a problem. Right, many of you have done it using for each. I want you guys to try out the method find. All right, I want you to Google the method. I want you to look for it. I want you to look at a few examples, right? And I want you to try the method find rather than for each. Although there's nothing wrong with for each. All of the answers that I've, not all, but most of the answers that I've gotten so far are correct with for each. It's perfectly fine. But I want you to give a try to the method find.
Method find returns the first value, not all the values. in array.
I'm gonna leave you with that for now. Give it a little bit of try. I strongly suggest that you read the documentation of it, right? This is usually what I recommend in my JavaScript course. If I'm teaching JS, I highly recommend reading the documentation. And also see the difference in for each and find. Can I get all the values greater than 50 in find? Or will I get only the first value greater than 50 that the method find would be able to find? There were there's a small mistake in the question that I posted before. It's not find and print all the numbers. Find and print the first number in array that is greater than 50 using find method on arrays. Guys, it's gonna be very important for us to know all the ways we can write functions, right? We are gonna be writing a lot of anonymous functions when we are gonna be creating APIs using Node.js, right? So this is gonna be something really important. The last part, functions that we did here. So if you're not comfortable with it, I would suggest you spend some time on it. I have added on Microsoft Teams links to 2 JavaScript courses. I would say only the first one is important to do at this point. It's really important to be comfortable with functions. Now, if you're done with both the questions that I've given you so far, I would suggest you look into other methods available on arrays. I'll mention a few important ones. Now, the ones that I'm mentioning here are a little more complex. But again, if you feel confident, you can jump on these. If you're done with everything so far, I have given you guys 3 questions here, starting from line number 128. There are 3 questions based on the array defined here. You can see those questions from line number 151 to 153. Whenever you are done with any of the answers, you can send me the program in a direct message. Guys, feel free to send me your programs, right? If you want me to have a look at your code, if you want me to debug something, if you're not sure why your code is not working, feel free to send me the code and ask me questions. And also feel free to Google anything, right? Don't copy paste code. The point is not just to show me that it's working, but if you need to see documentation, if you need to see some examples, that's perfectly fine.